Hello friends and welcome back to the second worst channel on youtube.com. The first worst being my other one. I am ridiculously excited to be filming this video today because I have got a big, fat, juicy book haul for you guys. These are kind of books that I've accumulated and acquired since Christmas, so Christmas presents, but also books that I bought at the beginning of the year when I was like, new year, new me, I'm gonna read every single day. And now it's early February and I'm thinking, there's always next year. So let's start with these three. These were gifts from my parents for Christmas. Firstly, we have Wordperfect. This is by Susie Dent, and Susie Dent is basically a word expert. She works on Countdown in Dictionary Corner, and she just knows everything. Ever, I think. She is my literal hero. She is my dream dinner party date, and so the fact that she has written a whole book of her wisdom and her knowledge of words just fills my heart with joy. So the idea is each day for 365 days you have a word, and so for the 23rd of March the word is hurricane, and then Susie Dent basically describes the word, the etymology of that word, the origins of the word, what languages the word has been influenced by, as well as tales from pop culture and from folklore, but Susie Dent presents it in such an accessible, understandable way, and it's so fascinating. For example, on the 2nd of January, the word was Janus words. So she's basically talking about how January is named after the god, the Roman god Janus, who was known for having two faces, so looking forward and also looking backwards. That's where we get January from, but also Janus words are basically words that we have which have two diametrically opposed meanings. So, for example, this is so interesting, I thought. So for example, you have the word clip. Clip could mean clipping something onto you and attaching it to you, but clipping can also mean detaching something, so clipping something off. Another Janus word is the word left. So for example, everybody left means everyone has disappeared and gone, but also you could be the last one left, meaning you're still there. So that's just an example, but it's really fun, really interesting, and basically I am trying to read one section a day, and my goal is to read it when I first wake up. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't quite got into the flow of doing that yet, but my idea is that instead of reaching for my phone as my first kind of contact point of the day, I want to reach for this book and learn something new when I've first woken up, and then hopefully I'll remember it and it's something to think about on that day. So that's that one. The next book is called The Windrush Betrayal, and my mum got this for me because she knew that I would be interested in it because I've been doing so much research and reading about Black British history. I've been listening to so many podcasts, reading so many books, and trying to basically fill in the gap that the education department left by not teaching us this stuff in school. One of the things I've been looking into a lot is the Windrush generation and the treatment of them when they first arrived, but this book is called The Windrush Betrayal, and it's written by a journalist for The Guardian called Amelia Gentleman, and she basically investigated how the Home Office in the UK were mistreating people who came over to the UK 50 years ago, completely legally, people who came from Jamaica, their passport said citizen of the United Kingdom because of the British Empire. So these people 50 years ago or 60 years ago came over to the UK completely legally, and then in the last decade were told they had to leave because they were undocumented citizens. So it's basically about how the Home Office created this hostile environment and how awful it was and how many lives they tore apart, and it's a really interesting investigation, heartbreaking, but shows the power of journalism. I think in a year where journalism has been a little bit questionable, this kind of restores your hope in it and your faith in it a little bit. And the final book my parents got me for Christmas is called The Song of Achilles. This broke my heart into tiny pieces. It is shattered across the floor currently as we speak, and I loved every minute of it. I'm a massive nerd for mythology, and this is basically a retelling of the story of Achilles, but it's from the perspective of Patroclus, so it basically documents Achilles' upbringing, his parentage, and his contribution to the Trojan War, but it is also a love story, and I'm going to leave it at that. Please read this book. It is phenomenal, and everyone I've spoken to about this has sung its praises. It has sung for the Song of Achilles. Read this book. Okay, so next we have some books that my brother got me for Christmas. By the way, I'm so grateful to my parents and my brother for getting me these. I really appreciate it, but they know that. So these are some books that my brother got me. Basically, I think like 2 days before Christmas, he was having an absolute panic because he was like, I just don't know what to get you. And I said, the one thing that would make me the happiest of anything is if you just went to a charity shop and you got me some books that you think I would really love. And can I just say, he should take up a career as a postman because boy did he deliver. All of these books look so interesting, and I think there's something really special about someone going and buying you a book that they thought you would like. Like, you haven't told them, I specifically want to read that particular book, but when they saw it, they thought you would enjoy it. I think that makes it even more special. So, firstly we have this book. This is hefty, and this is a collection of Jane Austen's letters. In the first lockdown, which I feel weirdly nostalgic about, and I feel a bit sick to my stomach that I feel nostalgic about the first lockdown, but in the first lockdown I read a lot of Jane Austen, and this collection of letters is so cool and something that's so lovely to have on my bookshelf, something that you kind of, I don't think it's the kind of thing that I would read cover to cover. It's more the kind of thing that I would dip into and read a letter at a time. And I've read a few of them, and they're such a fascinating insight into literally the woman who is on our £10 notes. So yeah, Jane Austen's letters, a really cool charity shop find. Next we have this very mysterious looking book. I assume it's a horror book, and I feel like if any of my books are going to kill me, it's this one. Basically, it's in this little cover, and look at that, how cool is that? It's called The Nun, and that is all I know about it because there's no blurb, there's no description, and I kind of want to keep it that way. I don't want to look up the plot or anything or a blurb because I kind of like the idea of just having a blind date with this book and just discovering it for the first time when I read it. But maybe it says more about me that I think the title, The Nun, gives me horror movie vibes, or horror book vibes. So interested to read that one. The next book that my brother got me was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2016, and it is called Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeline Thine. And I'll just read you a bit of the blurb. So it says, in 1990, 10-year-old Marie and her mother take in a young woman fleeing the aftermath of the Tiananmen Square protests. She brings stories of her family under Chairman Mao and of revolutionary idealism, music and silence, stories which span the course of China's recent turbulent history. This is so up my street because my history A-level was all about communist China and Chairman Mao, and turbulent is a fantastic word to describe that era of history, so very intrigued to read this, and the cover is beautiful. And my brother also knew that I've been actively trying to read more world literature and literature specifically from Asia, so this is a book by Viet Thanh Nguyen, and it's called The Sympathizer. Winner of the 2016 Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, The Sympathizer is a blistering exploration of identity, politics and America wrought in electric prose. The narrator, a Vietnamese army captain, is a man of divided loyalties, a half-French, half-Vietnamese communist, but placed in America after the end of the Vietnam War. Super interesting, that sounds so fascinating, and I'm very intrigued to read this one. So, thank you so much to my family for these lovely, lovely Christmas presents, and look at the aesthetic of that book pile. They knew what they were doing. Next up, we have some books that I maybe bought for myself. And firstly, this is why we buy secondhand. This is why I buy everything from secondhand bookstores or AB Books or places like that, because I ordered Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I didn't actually realise that it was a series. I didn't realise there were quite a few books. So I thought that I was just buying this one because it was only £2.49. But then, when they arrived, all of that arrived for £2.49. And it says on the back, when they were bought originally, they were £6.99 each. So I just got myself a bargaino. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was one of those books that was on my TBR pile and has been forever and ever and ever, and I was like, I need to finally get around to actually reading this book, and so I did, and the way that this book is written is just so special. It's exquisite because the comedy and the wit is so subtle but incredible. I will be the first person to hold my hands up and say I'm not a massive sci-fi fan, but this was the perfect balance for me. It kind of takes you into the universe and into this fantasy idea, but it still remains super interesting, and it talks about like human experience, and there's lots of dialogue, and I really enjoyed this book. I don't know if I'll be reading the others though. Maybe at some point, but maybe not anytime soon. The next book is by Murakami. So in my recent video where I read all of the books that Harry Styles has recommended, I read Norwegian Wood, which is by Haruki Murakami, and I loved it. I literally fell in love with that book, and I really enjoyed his writing style. I know that's not always what everyone thinks, but I personally enjoyed it, and so I bought myself another one. This is Kafka on the Shore. I've tried to read out this blurb about 15 times and I just can't get it out of my mouth, so we'll try one more time. Kafka Tamura runs away from home at 15 under the shadow of his father's dark prophecy. The aging Nakata finds his pleasantly simplified life suddenly turned upside down. As their parallel odysseys unravel, cats converse with people, fish tumble from the sky, a forest harbours soldiers apparently unaged since World War II, and there is a savage killing, but the identity of both victim and killer is a riddle, one of many which continue to create an elegant and dreamlike masterpiece. Elegant and dreamlike is exactly the way I would have described Norwegian Wood. I'm very much looking forward to reading this. I'm unsure of whether I will understand it at all, but looking forward to reading more from this author, so I'll give it a bloody good go. Next we have Kim Jae-young, born 1982. This is a beautiful edition. Like, look at that. That is a stunner. This is by Cho Nam-ju, but translated by Jamie Chang, and this is all about a woman's experience in South Korea. It is such an interesting insight into the endemic of misogyny and oppression which faces women all around the globe, but specifically for this lady and her life in South Korea at the kind of end of the 20th century. And it's really powerful stuff. It's all about the effect that small microaggressions across a lifetime eventually accumulate to. So would highly recommend this book. And these are the final ones. So the final part of books that I have to show you are all Arabic literature. So these are books that were written in Arabic but then translated to English. The first one that I have is called Time of the White Horses. This book is a stallion in itself. This is a big old book. I'm working on a video at the moment where I'm reading only Arabic literature for a week because I wanted to challenge myself and read something that I've never encountered before. And so I got some recommendations from some lovely, lovely viewers who sent me these amazing descriptions and made me want to read these books so much. So the first one is Time of White Horses. That is the name. Yeah, Time of White Horses. And the description says, spanning the collapse of Ottoman rule and the British mandate in Palestine, this is the story of 3 generations of a defiant family from a Palestinian village. We enter the life of a tribe whose fate is decided by one colonizer after another. Very intrigued and fascinated to read this book. Let's pop you up there. This tower is going to fall at some point. Next we have Gold Dust. I just finished reading this and it literally made me want to cry. It's about life in the desert and ostensibly it's kind of about this man and his relationship with his camel, but it was something about the way that Ibrahim Al-Koni describes their relationship, about someone you just cannot stay away from and someone that you just cannot avoid, you can't live your life without, was so powerful and impactful, and this is an awesome, awesome book. And I read it all in one sitting. Next we have the poetry of Darwish. This is A River Dies of Thirst. Darwish was one of the most acclaimed contemporary poets in the Arab world and is often cited as the poetic voice of the Palestinian people. So very intrigued to read this, and I will let you know what I think in due course. The next piece of Arabic fiction that was recommended to me is called Celestial Bodies. I don't know a lot about this, so I'll read you some of the blurb. 3 sisters live in a village in Oman. One of my good uni friends was, she grew up in Oman, so that's really cool. I'm excited to read this and learn more about where she grew up. One marries after a heartbreak, one marries from a sense of duty, and the other rejects all offers whilst waiting for her beloved, who has emigrated to Canada. Elegantly structured, Celestial Bodies is the story of the history and people of modern Oman told through one family's losses and loves. Doesn't that just sound incredible? I'm very excited to read that, but I've said that about all of them so far. And the last book that I'm going to talk about today is called Season of Migration to the North. And let me just tell you, I posted a picture of these 5 books on my Instagram story, and I must have had hundreds of messages about how great this book is. And I was so intrigued because the cover gives absolutely nothing away, but I am about 100 pages in and I am gripped. Like, I cannot wait to continue reading this. There's so many twists and turns and complicated character relationships and dynamics, and yeah, I'm really enjoying reading this and I'm looking forward to continuing to do so. Pretty cool. So that is my book haul. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it gave you some inspiration of what your next read could be. You can follow me over on Goodreads, which is just a book social media, to see what I thought of all of these books and how I rate them. And until next time, have a lovely day. Bye-bye!